Coming up on this edition of the Center of It All, we take a ride to Buffalo Run Farm Equestrian Center, stop by a local winery to be the first of its kind to move into a superstore, and we check out a Center County Lodge hosting a free music jam. These stories and more coming up next on the Center of It All. Hello and welcome to the Center of It All. Are you thinking about sending your child to camp this summer? Well, Buffalo Run Farm has a fantastic camp program for any young horse enthusiast. Buffalo Run Farm is a nearly 200-acre farm just outside of State College, with a top-class equestrian center offering a fantastic summer camp program.
So we have a different variety of summer camps available. Age ranges up to 17 years old. We have both full day and half day available throughout the summer. They start mid-June and run all the way through August. So what's involved in our summer camps is really, we like to teach full horsemanship. So not only riding, but the students will learn how to groom a horse, take care of a horse, identify problems, identify parts of a horse, and really what's involved in running a horse farm, as well as what horses eat, nutrition, and really learn the full spectrum of what goes into if you were to ride or to purchase your own horse, what's involved. So a small part of that is riding, but a larger part is actually maintaining your horse after you've gotten off.
For adults and families looking to get on horseback, Buffalo Run Farm offers over 3 miles of riding trails.
So our trail rides are really great. We're one of the only facilities in the area that offers that. So you can come in and you can go through our booking system. You can come in with a group of people, or just if you just want to come with your significant other and have kind of a private romantic experience, we can do that as well. And we'll take you out on, we have 200 acres of land to ride on, so we'll take you out on the trails. We'll teach you a little bit about horsemanship and how to steer your horses, how to ride your horses. And we have a great experience. You can see all the scenic hills in the valley, and it's typically about an hour and a half. So trail riding would be just more of a leisurely experience, so that's something that any skill level could come in and we would just go on a nice casual trail ride. Looking to improve those skills? Take a lesson. Buffalo Run Farm has some great horses for beginners. So we have all different disciplines, from off-the-track thoroughbreds to warm bloods to Kentucky mountain horses, so we have different varieties. And then we have a great group of lesson horses. So we have lesson horses ranging from beginner through advanced in different styles of riding, so English and Western. So no matter what skills you come into, we can pair you with the correct horse, but also advance you through the lesson program. For those more experienced riders, there's 3-day eventing. So most of our higher level advanced riders compete in what's called 3-day eventing. So it's a 3-day event course that will test dressage skills, show jumping skills, and cross-country skills. So they utilize our cross-country course for practice. The cross-country course involves natural-looking jumps for the horses to go over. And so we have anything from large logs to different obstacles set together in different combinations for some technical skill. Buffalo Run Farm also breeds their own horses. So we breed a specific kind of horse, which is the gypsy horse, which hails typically from Wales. So we have a stallion here with multiple mares, which will be breeding during the season. So we typically have younger horses running around as well. Their focus here on the farm is to teach full horsemanship. Oftentimes they hold seminars to better teach horse owners and riders about the interaction with their four-legged friends. Training a large animal that can't communicate with you other than body language, so you learn to become very good at interpreting body language. And then the other aspect is to train the owners to also relate to their horses. So we're training both the animal and the owner on how to learn together, how to communicate effectively, and that's really what training is all about. The farm also offers horse boarding in their large bank barn and comes equipped with an outdoor riding facility, indoor riding arena, and a custom-built cross-country course. Interested? Visit buffalorunfarm.com. Summer camps begin in June, and you can pre-register on their website.
Now when we come back on the Center of It All, we stop by the Oddfellows Lodge near Axman to hear some jams. Welcome back. The Oddfellows Center Lodge hosts a free music jam for themselves and anyone else who wants to join. The second Sunday of each month, the Oddfellows Center Lodge plays music, eats food, and really just has a good time. Young, old, experienced musicians, or just listeners, the Oddfellows are happy to have you.
Jam's held here at Center Lodge. Oddfellows Center Lodge is located between Pleasant Gap and Axman on Route 144. And the jam is open to anybody that would like to come play music, come and listen to music, any skill levels, any genre. We've played everything from Pink Floyd tunes to Merle Haggard, you know, it's anything in between. We've even had bluegrass musicians show up to it. Whatever anybody wants to play. We'd do Himalayan goat herding music if somebody could give us the chord changes. And you don't have to be embarrassed by your level of ability. It's all for fun, and it's all just because we all like music.
So many members of the lodge are musicians.
In the lodge itself, 3 bass players, 2 drummers, and 2 guitarists.
So the Oddfellows decided to make this jam a regular event.
It started out a couple years ago. We had a couple of us in the lodge that played music, and we just thought it was a good way to show people the lodge, basically, and we've gained some members out of it. But that isn't the overall approach, is just to play music because we all love music.
But wait, what are Oddfellows?
It started back in Elizabethan England, and what they were a bunch of aristocrats. Unfortunately, we're not. But they ran around and took care of like orphanages and helped widows out and helped the poor. And at the time it was considered so odd for the upper crust to care about these people that they got the name Oddfellows.
Besides rocking out on a Sunday afternoon, they do a lot of work for the community.
On a local level, our lodge here, we're working on a project right now to try and raise money for the food bank. And we've, in the past, have done things like we worked in conjunction with the Legion up here, and we helped the lady get a van for her 2 handicapped kids, a wheelchair accessible van. And we've worked on projects like that. And if somebody has a project or a cause, you know, we're always willing to try and lend a hand.
The Oddfellows Jams are held the second Sunday of every month from 1 to 4 p.m. There will always be food and beverages, and no payment is required, but donations are always accepted. You can't beat free entertainment, and when we come back on the Center of It All, Mel is cooking up a breakfast classic. Welcome back. Breakfast, dinner, and even dessert. Mel has got a Belgian waffle recipe perfect for any meal.
For years, I only made waffles for breakfast on weekends and special occasions. The whisking, the mixing, the measuring, plus getting my family out the door to work at school on time. What an ordeal. Today, I'm going to show you a recipe for overnight yeast waffles. They whisk together in 5 minutes, go in the refrigerator to rise overnight, and when you wake up in the morning, all you have to do is plug in your waffle iron. Let's get started. As with all pancake and waffle batters, we're just going to incorporate our wet ingredients into our dry ingredients. For our dry ingredients, I'm adding 1 1/4 ounce packet of dry yeast granules to 2 1/4 cups of flour, a generous tablespoon of sugar, and a teaspoon of salt. And I'm quickly going to whisk that together. In a small saucepan, I've melted 2 3/4 cups of milk, 1 stick of butter, and a teaspoon and a half of vanilla. Now I did this ahead of time because once this mixture once the butter melts into the saucepan, you have to let it cool to between 110 and 120 degrees so you don't kill your yeast. And that takes about a half an hour, so I did that ahead of time for the camera. So I've got a nice well here in the center of my dry ingredients. And I'm going to add all of my milk and butter mixture. And I'm going to start slowly to get the flour incorporated. And I'm just going to whisk this. And I'm just going to increase the speed of my hand till this gets almost smooth. A few little lumps won't bother this at all. Oh, I can smell that vanilla. Okay, and now I've whisked 2 large eggs at room temperature. Add those. And I'm going to whisk this till it's really smooth and drizzly. We want all of these eggs to be thoroughly incorporated into this mixture. And I said this goes together in less than 5 minutes. I think I should have said less than 2 minutes. That is smooth and drizzly and perfect. The only thing left for me to do is cover this bowl with plastic wrap and put it in the refrigerator overnight, and as long as 20 hours, to anywhere from 10 to 20 hours, and this waffle batter is going to be wonderful. Traditionally, yeast-risen waffles are Belgian waffles, and they're made in a waffle iron with bold, deep grids. Traditionally, waffles made with baking powder and baking soda are American waffles, and they're made in a waffle iron with shallow, delicate grids. What this means is, if you're making waffles from a recipe or even a mix that contains baking powder or baking soda, you're making American waffles made in either an American waffle iron or a Belgian waffle iron. Today, we're making yeast-risen waffles, which means we're making Belgian waffles. My dough is out of the refrigerator, and you can see it is at least doubled in bulk. I'm just going to take a nice big spoon, and I'm going to give it a couple of good stirs. There's really no reason to overmix this. You can see it's a little bit thickier and stickier than an ordinary pancake batter, but it's still pretty loose. I'm just going to get as much of that off of that spoon as I can. My waffle iron is preheated, and I know that because the indicator light went off. All waffle irons pretty much work the same. The light's going to go on and off during the process, but that shouldn't be an indication of whether or not you should cook on it or not. It's working kind of like the thermostat in your oven. It's just keeping the machine at a constant temperature. So I'm going to open this up. Ooh, look at that. Steam. Now I already know that the grids on my waffle iron require about ½ a cup. But you might have to do a test batch on yours because, well, quite frankly, you might have a different manufacturer of your waffle iron. So I'm going to just get myself a ladle here, and I'm going to try to level each one of these off as much as I can using a tablespoon. And I don't really want to go overboard with my batter. I want to get it as level as I can. So on each half of my Belgian waffler, I'm going to place 1/2 cup of waffle batter. And I'm going to try, and I hope this makes sense, and I'll show you on the second one, to kind of lean it to the back of the waffle iron, to the back of the grids. It's a little bit of a trick I've learned. And the reason I'm doing that is because when I close this waffle iron, it's going to naturally push the batter forward into the machine. And believe me, if I make 8 waffles without any of them dripping over the side, that'll be a miracle. That happens to everybody. And we're going to get about 8 waffles today. So let's cook about 2 minutes per batch. Wow, those have been about 2 minutes, maybe 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And they are looking good. I'm just going to lift them out of there with the aid of a fork and a spatula. And you can see even these little drips are perfect. And just in a couple minutes, well, my family's going to eat them, but I can, if I want these to look really pretty, I just trim off the sides. Now I'm just going to close my waffle iron for just about 30 seconds, as long as it took me to remove those 2 waffles. And I'm going to get my next ladleful ready to go in. And the next thing you're going to notice is as your batches continue to cook, now those took about 2 minutes, the time is probably going to decrease because these grids are really holding a lot of heat. Okay, ready for our next batch. There we go. Level it off the best you can. Close the lid, and we're good to go for another 2 minutes. Our second batch is done, and you're going to know that we're going to get pretty much exactly 8 waffles from my recipe. If you were doing this on an American waffle pan, you'd probably get a few more because the grids are more shallow. One other thing that I probably should mention, if I were making these for people sitting right here at my kitchen counter, I'd be serving them as they come off the waffle iron, hot and steamy. But today I'm calling all of my guests to the table, and what I'm going to do, or what I've done, is I've placed a rack in a baking pan, and I'm just going to pop these in a 300 to a 325 degree oven for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to call everybody to breakfast. With a recipe as easy and delicious as this, waffles are not just for special occasions anymore. Waffles for breakfast with maple syrup and butter, chicken and waffles for dinner, waffles and ice cream with strawberries for dessert. You decide. For these and all of my recipes, just go to my website.
Doesn't Mel just make the best looking food? Now coming up on the center of it all, we stop by Curwensville Winery making big moves. Welcome back to the center of it all. Star Hill Winery is a small business moving into a superstore right in Du Bois. Star Hill Winery is a family-owned business in our area, taking a big step and becoming the first privately owned wine shop within a Walmart supercenter in the entire country.
We're located in Du Bois Supercenter Walmart in Du Bois, Pennsylvania, roughly around 738 square feet. We will have all our wines here, so we do 40 plus different wines, so we have most of them here today.
The Star family has been making wine since the 1950s, but opened their winery and vineyard just 10 years ago.
It's a family business. My dad started making wine with his dad in the 50s, and then he was in the Air Force, was stationed over in Germany, saw how they made wine over there. 1967, him and his brother made wine. We have the original bottles at the winery. In the mid-90s, our main business was a financial service business, and most all wineries all start from a hobby. So they either stay as a hobby or they go to the next level, and a lot of our folks liked our wines, and they said, you should open up a winery. So in the mid-90s, we built a building for the winery. We planted a few grapes to see if they were growing. Now we have 3,000 vines.
3,000 vines isn't quite enough for this large winemaking operation, so Star Hill supplements with grapes grown in northern Pennsylvania.
The vineyard itself is in Curwensville. In Curwensville we grow the Niagara grape, the Concord grape, a Treminette, Leon Merlot, Marechal Foch, a few Chardonnays, and a few Cab Franc. If we picked every grape we have, we can do about maybe 300 to 400 gallons. We do surpass that in thousands and thousands of gallons. So the other juice or grapes we get mostly from northeast Pennsylvania up to the Erie region.
Well known in Curwensville, Star Hill is looking to make their name in other parts of the state and taking their business where the people are.
I always say, you know, if you're gonna if you're going to sell peanuts, you got to go where the circus is, right? So there's a big circus inside Walmart. It's one of the, in this area, it's the largest store. I think they do 30,000+ transactions.
Chances are you can find a Star Hill shop near you.
We have a store inside County Market in Phillipsburg, the Clearfield Mall in Clearfield, Pennsylvania, the winery in Curwensville, here in Walmart in DuBois, in Brookville, we're inside My Garden, and in Benazet, where all the elk are roaming, we're inside the Elkview Gifts on Winslow Hill Road.
As far as the original star winemakers of the 1950s, Ken says they would be pretty proud of this moment.
I think they'd be excited, you know. I think that, you know, my dad's dad would be ecstatic, I think, you know. My grandmother came from Poland. She was my dad's the first generation, and I think they would really embrace the situation and what we're doing and how we're growing.
The grand opening of the new Star Hill location will be June 3rd. Now, are you training for your next race? Well, the doctors at the Cleveland Clinic have some tips on how to get you to peak performance. More and more people are on the run, literally. A recent study found that participation in the 100 largest road races in the United States grew 77% over the past 14 years. Dr. Laura Goldberg is a sports health expert at the Cleveland Clinic, who says the key to finishing any road race without hurting yourself is proper training.
One person's 5K may be another person's marathon. So it really is a matter of increasing your training and making sure you have enough of a base that you've built up your mileage so that you can handle what you're training for.
Dr. Goldberg says part of your training should include a hydration and fuel plan. She says to practice hydrating yourself before, during, and after long runs so you're prepared on race day. Also consider what you'll eat. You should also pay close attention to the weather in the weeks leading up to the race. Have several clothing options available that you're comfortable wearing on long runs. And put together a pacing plan. Dr. Goldberg says having enough time to prepare for your race is most critical.
The rule of thumb, we're really not building more than 10% mileage a week. So if you build that in, you know that to get up to 26 miles takes a lot longer than it does to 13 or 6 or 3.
Dr. Goldberg says to expect to take 2 to 3 months to build your base mileage. She says you have to establish your base mileage first before you can start adding 10% a week. Well, that's all for this edition of The Center of It All. For more great WHVL content, log on to our YouTube page and like us on Facebook. Thanks for watching and have a great week.